Hello and welcome to Zarhus Developers Meetup. This is third Zarhus Developers Meetup. This event, so in case you are lost and you just get here by accident, this event is dedicated to Zarhus operating system, or you can have you can say framework for making operating systems. And here we would like to give you some heads up about our accomplishment over last 3 months and follow up with our mission and vision and how we essentially realize what we initially discussed in the first Zarhus Developers Meetup. You can get back on YouTube and check those videos. Just in case you are really lost, then Zarhus is an embedded Linux distribution based on Yocto. But we're not doing only Yocto. We're doing also other stuff, and I would like to dive a little bit deeper into that in later slides. It's a distribution developed by 3M and the main point of this distribution is to simplify provisioning, integration, and maintenance of embedded platforms with very strong focus on the security, verifiability, auditability, transparency, trustworthiness, and of course, there is no strong security without very good immutable root of trust, ideally hardware root of trust. And of course, if we have root of trust, then we have to have some chain of trust to deliver some transitive trust to our target application, whatever it is. Yeah. A little bit about this forum and about the rules. So this is for the Zarhus team, so 3M Dev Zarhus team and our partners to share the knowledge. It is related to our development, either to commercial one or the stuff that we want to do because we just love it and we like to mess with various things. And this is where this event is where we report it. Event happen quarterly, but we will change that a little bit. I will talk about that later. A short presentation, 20 minutes, focused on demo, of course, except this one. This one is more about status, community status, vision, mission, and kind of communicating bigger picture. There's little time for questions, just 5 minutes. Typically, we don't have big audience, so there is not much for questions. YouTube already got the playlist for ZDM 1 and ZDM 2, and you can also watch those on the cfp3m.com, as well as on dedicated Zarhus Developers Meetup websites. I just checked yesterday number of views, and I don't know if we surprised or not. Securing Embedded Linux by Michał was the most popular one, over 100 views. Not a lot, but still something. So congratulations to Michał. The second was CrossCon, and third one was OpenBMC. That was the statistic I checked yesterday. And what's the agenda today? So we have this welcome presentation when I will talk a little bit about vision and community status. Then context-based authentication by Mateusz, based on CrossCon experience from CrossCon project, status of Dasharo toolsuit and roadmap of it by Daniel. Then Maciej will talk about hardware bucket security in Android, and then a little bit more about compliance, NIS2, and how it relates to the Zarhus and embedded systems software development by not Maciej, but Kamil. I'm sorry for that. Okay, and then we will have at 8 p.m. we will have closing notes. I would like to let you know about some events we plan to attend in upcoming months. Okay, what will be in my presentation? I would like to touch a little bit about Dasharo and Zarhus ecosystem, how high-level things look like, and then how things work in more detail regarding release process. Then I would like to recap the Cube's Air motivation and Zarhus role. I hope Zarhus will play this role and how I envision the Zarhus role. Then a little bit about business model. There are slight small differences in the business model in comparison to last presentation. And I have two kind of more extensive slides about Zarhus ecosystem alignment, which is kind of formalizing our existing processes, tooling, to provide better explanation to customers. And then Zarhus hardware certification, which is also something that we've just formalized existing pieces, which are scattered and working depending on the customer, maybe not in whole pipeline, but in case any customer would like to have like whole coverage, then I would like to explain how this could look like. Okay, regarding the Sharo and Zarhus ecosystem, situation is like kind of quite simple. So we have some silicon vendors which typically commit some code. Of course, sometimes those silicon vendors behave alone. Sometimes there is like some broker for that, like Linaro or some companies which are operating in embedded Linux environment or embedded systems environment, and they hiring those organization or those companies. Those they commit stuff to upstream so the whole ecosystem can benefit. And this is for all silicon vendors, or x86, Power, RISC-V, ARM especially. And of course Zarhus Team and Zarhus as a framework, as a concept, which covers various activities in 3MDEP, picks up from this upstream to deliver some value to either to community, either to various OEMs, ODMs, or even value others resellers or enterprises, like which we kind of have umbrella name for bigger organizations. The same happened with the Sharo. And of course, we hope that when we deliver that code, those organizations, after some time, they will improve something. Maybe they will hire someone else. Maybe they will hire us again. And they will push to upstream. And we're hoping that this ecosystem will grow and will be stronger, more resilient, and so on. In the past, I showed some version of this picture to show a little bit of role of Zarhus in this. You can note that there are some additional icons in this box. Also here, there is Orbit, there is heads here. Initially, I guess there was no slim bolt holder. Also, it was added at some point. But essentially, this diagram showing kind of three silos in which booting the platform works. But maybe let's start from the top to understand what is going on here. We typically would like to educate ourselves if we don't have enough deep inside knowledge about what's going on. So that means that we need training. And the training could be about silicon vendor security technology, which we're trying to specialize in because we believe that strong root of trust is a foundation for any trustworthiness in computing. And of course, our mission is to improve the trustworthiness of all possible devices that exist. Of course, we have limited impact, but still trying. Of course, Dasharo is one ecosystem. I will not dive here because, but we can say what's the difference between Dasharo and Zarhus. So typically, Dasharo is more like embedded firmware, BIOS related stuff, and you can say that Zarhus is anything like operating system, bootstrapping the operating system, anything that is closer to operating system than to some bare BIOS firmware. Then it's probably more like a Zarhus, yeah. Of course, there are some areas which are not clear, which we can discuss and argue, but that's not the point here. The point here is that we're adding some stuff. We're thinking about what kind of languages we will use. Like we love C. We also use Python a lot. We use Bash a lot. But we also would like to. We leverage already Rust in some projects. We leverage Go in some projects. But of course, we would like to do more of that. There are some projects which are closely associated with that. So, for example, uroot is a Go rootfs, rootfs which leverage Go utilities, like Golang utilities. Yocto, of course, is one of our frameworks. OpenBMC is in Yocto. U-boot, of course, there is trusted firmware here, of course, Linux kernel. And if Linux kernel, and we're talking about the low-level stuff, there is something like Linux boot. Of course, Linux boot is very close to heads, so probably heads also could be here, but for historical reasons, is not here. Maybe in future. And this ecosystem is growing and expanding, and there's even more needs here. So what are the new icons here? Maybe I will start from right side because maybe not everyone knows this icon. This is Buildroot. So we also touching Buildroot. In Crosscon, we use it Buildroot for generating images of the VMs. OpenWRT is also a thing. We probably will have our own Zarhus WRT looking at the needs of our customers. Those icons are no, but there are some new here. There is StageX. So StageX is verifiable compute, verifiable. It's technology which supports verifiable computing, and essentially from very small, like 256 bytes or something like that, can bootstrap a whole ecosystem, all like recompile in a redistributable way all the components that exist. And thanks to that, of course, we have tracking and very strong supply chain security for all the software that we use. This is very useful for long-term maintenance and also for sensitive sensitive software. GUIX is also similar project, but a little bit different approach. uroot I already mentioned. Nix is very popular recently, gaining a lot of traction, even in some serious applications, despite there is some criticism from StageX in direction of Nix. But anyway, this is very interesting. We should watch what's going on with this OS and probably think how we can leverage. There are many people who wants to leverage Nix and replace Yocto, and we will see how this will go. I think BSD ecosystem also getting traction recently. So OpenBSD and FreeBSD and probably other BSDs will get back to us, especially in context of embedded devices, firewalls, and so on. But anyway, let's move on. Of course, we have this ecosystem. Now we have to somehow exist in an environment where we build synergy between Zarhus based solutions and Dasharo to get some bigger value. And this is kind of pipeline of Dasharo and Zarhus release process. So we just extended this area where we just got this community. So what happened between Zarhus development team, Zarhus team, and the community, OEMs, enterprise, and users. So we know that we produce Dasharo toolsuit. There will be status today. There is product which is called Zarhus provisioning box, which doing very good. We should use or using even sometimes in our hardware lab validation for Dasharo, and also for validating those components standalone. In our lab, we have our validation framework, we have tests, we have reservation system, and we have our controller, which is open source hardware remote testing environment controller. As the output from the lab, we're getting some version of Dasharo toolsuit, which we can call production. We're getting Zarhus provisioning box, of course, when validated, somebody is validated, gets into production, and we have some Dasharo. And now what is kind of new, or maybe new, not new, but as a concept was living in our processes, but in practice we didn't structure it that way, is just that Dasharo and DTS should be signed, or at least hashes of it should be signed by Zarhus provisioning box before pushing that to the audience, and just for the proof that it is delivered by 3MDeb. The same thing is, if there is new Zarhus provisioning box, we probably should deliver that to some customers, and we have already deployments of Zarhus provisioning box. So we should update our customer with the new version of the operating system, and then our customer could, I don't know, whatever, provision the binaries with some root of trust and chain of trust technology and publish on their server for their end users, or they may just publish on our server. That's completely fine. And then we have our deployment server where our customers can log in and get the update. There is also some new concept, or to some, it was always with us in some form, but it's not implemented yet, the attestation part. So we would like to also have situation in which our customer can inquire with some evidence from gathered on the platform, inquire if my platform is and firmware running or software running on my platform is trustworthy. And then we like send back decision, or at least some confirmation or some proof that okay, those hashes are okay. Of course, there is some limit to trustworthiness of that, but then it's decision of the community, OEM, or enterprise or end user to trust or not trust. So what's the state of these components? So quite a lot is ready. As I said, the Zarhus provisioning box concept is kind of not fully implemented. Some kind of informal process exists, but it was not introduced fully. We have deployments of the on the customer side. The deployment and attestation server are probably more in progress thing or a concept thing, and attestation part is not ready despite the deployment is ready. So you can see that the ecosystem is quite mature, and we have to push that forward to complete the loop and just like speed it up. And of course, this is associated with something that I proposed on Cube's Summit this year, where we explore essentially this box. This box, where we would like to have system for. So this is essentially the composite Zarhus provisioning box, to which there is something that coming, some build that's coming, and then we can have a very highly divided workflow between VMs, which every VM is specialized in doing specific thing for the purpose of achieving the binary of Dasharo or whatever operating system, could be also Zarhus. And this binary is provisioned with the root of trust artifacts or chain of trust technology of the choice of the customer. This, of course, have to work with some HSMs, which should have structured key tree. But that's one thing. And of course, I would really like to extend this through these sites, through distributed reproducibility, where we can have very strong proof, ideally with StageX or GUIX, claiming, okay, those are builds that we did, or maybe there are some third parties that did also builds from this source code, and really this hash express that this is this source code. And in case of any problems, vulnerabilities or whatever, we can quickly get into what version was used, and which version we have to change and update to mitigate the issue. This would be very important in light of the compliance, which coming very fast, and we will even talk a little bit today about that. Okay, that's one thing. I also wanted to show you, okay, so we have this ecosystem, growing ecosystem, then we have releases, and then we would like to somehow monetize that, sometimes have some business model for that. So we already discussed that, so I will not repeat the community part. The community part, we will have some Zarhus community releases. There will be probably some Zarhus Pro package at some point where you can just get Zarhus for, I don't know, it would be Zarhus WRT or Zarhus BMC for your platform, and then you will get regular updates. This would be a little bit different to the model which is normal on the market right now, where essentially you're getting your operating system or you're getting your BMC with the board, and you're hoping that your vendor will deliver some updates. No, our point is to decouple from that and have like kind of separate stream and separate ability to request features, have community for that, and so on and so on. Then, of course, there will be something for business clients, which we discussed. And the new thing here is really here. It's this Zarhus ecosystem alignment, and I will show you on the next slide what it really is. But first, I have to introduce new term, which is Zarhus hardware certification. I mentioned on the previous slide. Maybe not new; it's like just a formalization of existing some existing processes or some existing steps. It is not on this slide, but essentially every Zarhus community support, Zarhus support package, Zarhus Enterprise Edition, every approach, every business approach will be with the goal of achieving Zarhus hardware certification for given platform. That That's essentially our ultimate goal, because if there is this certification, we can say this is verifiable, it's trustworthy to some extent, of course, with given evidence, with given report. So this is a modus operandi that we have to achieve the certification. And of course, to drive to that certification, we have to consider a couple of things. First of all, we have like quite rich ecosystem. And this ecosystem got so many components. We have kernel, we have our rootfs, we have all the libraries, crypto libraries, and everything moving at some pace, delivering CVE fixes, and so on and so on. So there is a need for tracking all of that, and we have to propose to our customers structured way of essentially tracking that progress, but also tracking and aligning the roadmap of customer with what's going on in the public. And of course, not every customer wants to be known, wants to contribute as a let's say some company X wants to do fixes for something, and not always is the situation that they want to do it themselves, because they don't want to be exposed in a way that they really have this business direction, like don't want to reveal. So they coming to 3M Dev, to Zarhus Team, and essentially say us to do this. We're doing that for them, and they are protected thanks to that. Do not leaking the information. Very quickly, this is something that's going monthly. So we have monthly calls with customers, typically 90 minutes. We're setting up progress, priorities. Of course, this we have also our weekly meetings where we're planning Zarhus weekly meetings, and we also have Zarhus Team always create pull requests, issues, create documentation, which essentially contribute to moving the roadmap further. Like three weeks before end of quarter, we should take all these integrations, all the fixes, analyze those, take the feedback from the team, and essentially start create the plan for the next quarter. There are more details here. I don't want to. I know I have little time, but that's essentially where we're going. We're going to the meeting with some input, with some strategic input that should align the roadmap of the customer to the goals, to the business goals, and then of course we drive it and we deliver solution. That's one thing. Of course, there's more to that. I guess we could improve also this area in more details, but that's not the point of the presentation, to show all possible details how Zarhus Team operates. There is one more thing that I want to there are two last slides, I guess, maybe three. Zarhus pre-compliance report. So Zarhus hardware certification have to start somewhere. So let's say customer got some platform, and that platform, we really don't know it. It's a completely new platform. And what customers should do with this? So essentially, customer coming to us and have inquiry, oh, Zarhus Team, please check this platform. Is it trustworthy? Is it good? Is it like, can root of trust be delivered? Can chain of trust technology could be delivered for that platform, maybe upstream it, and so on. So that we have two phases. First phase, we can say, even without hardware, we can do something. So we're taking data sheets, we're taking BSP code, we're taking various stuff, we review that. Then we trying to map whatever we will find to the Zarhus hardware certification requirements, because we know what we want regarding root of trust and chain of trust. Then we identify, okay, how's the boot chain look like? What are the gaps? How the chain of trust passing between the boot phases? How to secure those? And of course, this is related with trusted execution environment, trusted firmware ACE, trusted firmware M, maybe OPTI, with TPM, with FTPM, with measured boot, and so on. It can be related with bootloader, and so on and so on. We have some gap analysis, we have feature matrix tests, we have boot components identification, we have false readiness, because we know what kind of state is in upstream, what's the vendor, what the silicon vendor got, and then in some way we can deliver to customer, okay, here is the report, here is the state of this platform, here are our recommendations, and typically here is the price for the for fixing that. And the next stage is with hardware. So when we have hardware, we can essentially verify, because sometimes documentation saying one and reality saying something different. So we have to verify our assumptions based on the documentation. And this is what we're doing in P2. I will not go into details of that because that's quite a lot of steps. It's even more like, of course, we assemble the device, we have to validate it, we have to run full cycle, and then of course there are probably some gaps. If not, then platform is ideal, but we didn't find any ideal platform yet, so maybe at some point. And that's also a good validation for customers that this is good selection of hardware and everything works. And that's essentially our modus operandi for pre-compliance report for Zarhus hardware certification. And that's it about the products. I think I will get back to products in the future presentation, maybe next quarter. About the community, not much changed. A couple people joined, like more stars. 2 people joined the matrix. No traction. We do not publish much. I guess at some point we will publish Zarhus BMC or Zarhus OpenWRT or some reference binaries for other platforms, and then it will hit the public audience, and maybe that way we will gain more traction. Right now we're just operating, let's say, in this kind of hidden way, or maybe small audience way. Okay, that's it for me. Sorry for taking too much time, as always. I guess I don't know if we have any questions.